Hi, it's Luther here, and I'm in my indoor sim in Milton Keynes. It's a cold November day out there. It's warm and dry in here. Now, one of the subjects we don't hear so much about these days is leg action. And I can think back to the Nicklaus era, the Tom Watson era, the David Leadbetter era. There were schools of thought and there were preferences regarding leg action. When I first started playing golf at school, a few old books I used to read, they were ancient books. They were sort of Bobby Jones and Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson and Stan Snead. And the thing that was patently obvious in those great players, at the top of the backswing, when the club was bowed in that transition, it was obvious that the hips and legs had started down. Leadbetter picked up on the fact that at the top, Sam Snead's first move was a slight squat as he descended. We know that Ben Hogan's swing plane changed and therefore his leg action changed a little bit. So I don't think there are any hard and fast laws about leg action that we can impose upon each other. I think the leg action is sympathetic to the shot that you're hitting. But let me just give my best take on where leg action comes from. So if I said to you pass the coffee, you step across the kitchen and you pass the coffee, you wouldn't think about your legs. Say, catch that vase, and you'd be quick there. Or if you're a passenger in my car and I hit the brake quickly, you'd do that with your hands and your arms instinctively. But I think there's another phase, and it comes, it's a phrase I use, it's a reflex anticipation. So if you see a kid spinning a pebble at a pond, his legs and his hips lead. I don't think for a minute he's thinking that. I'm thinking at racket sport like tennis, as the ball comes in, the leg's going forward. So for me, half your leg action comes from how you load. If you load your backswing a quarter, you're going to get a quarter leg action, half, and so on. So when you load the backswing fully, you've loaded the legs. Now, if I don't release my hand action, the legs can dip and damage the shot. If your intent is to load fully, half your leg action is evident. If the hands then release, then the legs and the weight shift will be creative and they'll move in a linear sense. Now, you're not actually thinking about that, it's just the intent of the hand to go through. Now, if you're a club golfer watching this, and you say, well, Luther, I'm not really hitting it very well, legs just seem a bit superfluous, I'd agree with you. No point worrying about the legs if your hands and your arms don't work. So you need your hand action and your arm action and your wrist action to be really good, and then in the context of that, we improve your leg action. Now, you may be a Dustin Johnson or a tour pro or a very talented player, a very strong player, and you might find yourself bowed at the top with a shut face. Well, in that particular case, clearing the body and having active leg action is a great idea. Hogan himself taught at the top of the backswing, the hip turned out of the way. So I think there's an art to it. There's not a science. I think the setup is a science. I think it's black and white. You can set up perfectly. I think the backswing is a science. But the downswing is an art, and the leg action are part of that art. Let me just show you two different shots. And the thing I want to pick up from this is the way that the legs work is sympathetic to the swing, not necessarily the cause of the shot. So I'm going to hit you a little 6-iron around the tree here, and around the circle. And I'm going to hit you a nice little low draw. So you can see the ball doing what it should, back into the flag. And what I can tell you is as I made that movement, I know that I dropped to a shallower plane. I know that my hips cleared, my legs were leading, and then I finished on the edge of my left shoe. Now, I can't think about that in 1.8 seconds, but what I can tell you, if you look at that leg action in slow motion, it would have been pretty good. And there would have been a constant knee flex as well. Now, if you ask to go around the tree in the other direction, I'm going to expect a slightly different leg action. So here we go. Set yourself up, round the circle. Face has gone with me. I'm now going to hit you a fade. So you can see the ball moving. And what I know from my own feeling is I got the imparted fade spin. I know that my hip action would have been quicker and my left leg would have straightened and my weight would have been on the edge of my shoe. Trevino, the ultimate fader, he was square through the ball so long, he had that stagger in the body. He was shut at the top, massive clearance and through. If you asked me to hit a low shot, I'd expect my knees to stay fairly flexed throughout, akin to the draw I just hit you. Here's the low shot. Okay. Didn't cover myself in glory on that one, but I think you see that I demonstrated the knees retain their flex. If I was hitting a high shot, I think my transitional weight would be calmer and quieter. So this is a high shot over the same tree. Off I go, hinge, hit it high, and you can see that I've stayed back a little bit on this foot. A low shot, the weight would get to the left side. So I hope I'm making the point, the leg action serves the shot, it doesn't create it.